presentation, recognize State Treasurer Ms. Lynn Fitch and her team. Welcome you today. Thank you for your handout. We are in receipt of that. Treasurer, we're following a procedure today to keep ourselves on track so that we, as you see, we have a lot of people to hear from. We want to make sure we stay within our allotted time. You have been slotted for 30 minutes. What we've been doing, I've discovered that these members have a lot of questions. And so we are going to take the first 15 minutes of your time and allow you to present what you wish, and then we're going to stop at the halfway mark and let them ask what questions they have. So I would encourage you to get the high points and the meat of your presentation quick, and then we will stop at 11:45 and see what questions we have. So I'll turn it over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lieutenant Governor, members of the committee, thank you for allowing us to be here and to talk about the exciting things that are happening in the Treasurer's office. We've got a lot going on, and we have a lot to talk about and tell you all about. I would be remiss if I didn't first say that I've been very blessed with excellent staff. I've got a great team to work with, and that certainly makes a difference when you step into a new agency. Laura Jackson is one of the deputies. She's over all the external affairs, the financial affairs, the investment portion of the office. And Jesse Graham is the deputy over internal operations, which is certainly a very complex part of our business as we run one of the largest state financial institutions. So thank you for having us today. First and foremost, when you go in, you have to assess what your expectations are and how you can be the best steward of taxpayers' dollars. And in order to do that, the staff and I are very committed to going through with our vision. And we crafted our vision to secure and invest the financial trusts of the state of Mississippi. As you can see, about $9 billion flows through the Office of the State Treasurer. And we feel it's very important to stay abreast of the cutting technology, to have very qualified staff, to exhibit what we feel is necessary to run one of the largest financial institutions of the state. We plan to do some things like customer service portal, where you can go online, you can file your unclaimed property claim. If you're a college or institution, you can look at your account and see what the numbers are. If you're a bank, you can certainly look at your collateral and you can secure your public deposits. So we think, first and foremost, we have to work smarter and be more efficient as we operate the bank. But I want just very quickly, as the speaker's asked, to touch on a few things. Certainly some of our successes and some of the things that we do on a daily basis. Most recently, I think many of you have seen that unclaimed property has been a big part of what has been going on in the last 9 months at the State Treasurer's Office. Since January, we've returned over $7 million to individuals, families, local governments, state agencies. Made a very big impact, but I am so proud of the team. They worked very hard to secure people their right dollars. And recently we were on Good Morning America on Show Me the Money. And it was a great opportunity, a very heartfelt, to give $108,000 to the Palmer home in Columbus. So that was very meaningful for us, and we should all have been there to be a part of that. So let me touch on unclaimed property for just a bit. So far, we've had $9.5 million has been given back. We have paid 7,200 claims, which for us, we set up a call center. We've been averaging about 170 inquiries a day. We have property receipts totaling $38.8 million currently in the Treasury for the unclaimed property. The total amount of property held is $194.4 million. But our cash balance is only about $57 million. I say that for several reasons, to understand where we are in the unclaimed property. And by law, these are certainly not our dollars. Our charge and our mission is to get back these dollars to the right individuals, governments, corporations, or whom it may be. But to say that we do have an imbalance in the fund, and at times these monies have been used to balance the budget. We certainly have to utilize our dollars. We're paid, the entire treasurer's budget comes from the unclaimed property account. We have the bond division. Many of you all are very well apprised of what happens in the bond division. We oversee the pre-issuance and the post-issuance of all the general obligation debt. and certainly the payment of our debt service. Recently, early in the summer, we had the opportunity to visit with the 3 national rating agencies and provide an update on our state. It was a very positive opportunity to visit with these agencies, and I'm very proud to say that we continue to receive our AA rating. We don't receive any negative warnings like many states have done, but we've got very, very positive impact and feedback from those 3 rating agencies, which is going to be very beneficial to us as we proceed through other bond issues or other financial endeavors for the state to have that type of rating. Recently the Bond Commission, certainly due to our rating and our capability to restructure some of our debt, had the opportunity to take advantage of these historically low interest rates. We converted over $117 million of our variable rate to fixed rate. And so in addition, we also converted about $100 million floating rate notes to reduce some of our risk. Now, in doing this, certainly it was in our favor to take the opportune time at the market because we were able to save the state $15.1 million in present value savings, which is exceptional, particularly where we are in this economy. Most of these savings will be realized in FY 14 and 15 on the front end. The Collateral Division goes hand in hand. That sort of speaks for itself. As you can see in the Collateral Division, we oversee the collateralization process for 101 financial institutions. The staff has to be in charge of public funds of over 1,200 public entities and make sure they are secure and safe. And we currently monitor the collateral for over $6 billion of public funds. A big portion of what we do at the Treasurer's Office is the investment and the cash management division. As I said, serving as the Chief Financial Officer, and this is running one of the largest financial institutions in the state, this is a very critical piece of our business. So this division is responsible for investing and managing over $3.3 billion, which are general and special funds. The total interest earned in FY12 on all of these state funds was approximately $55 million. Unfortunately, where we are in the world with the economy and across our nation, as we're looking at the experts and looking at the forecasting and budgeting, we see that interest rates will probably stay flat for the next 1 to 2 years. We certainly have to take that into account, but what we've done in many of our investments is we've kept them very heavily weighted in shorter maturities, so that in the chance that the interest rates go up, we'll be ready to move into a higher interest rate bearing type of financial product. Again, besides doing the state, the general, and the special funds, the Treasurer's Office is also responsible for another $500 million of funds. As you can see on the screen, we have the responsibility for the prepaid affordable college tuition fund, the MAX program, the Educational Improvement Trust, the Working Cash Stabilization Reserve Fund, Healthcare Trust Fund, Workers' Comp, and the tort claims, all totaling over $500 million that we invest internally and oversee the investments of these different funds. Again, so much of it goes as a companion to the financial investment and management is also how we process. Now, all the warrants come through the State Treasurer's Office. And in FY 2012, we processed 737,000 warrants from all the state agencies, which equated to about $7.1 billion coming through the Treasurer's Office. We then presented and distributed receipts of more than $18 billion. This is the last line of defense where we look at fraud, we look at opportunities to make sure there's no forgery relating to state warrants or anything that might compromise the security and the safety of state agencies' dollars. Impact is, as we were just speaking about, is one of the funds that we manage. Currently, there are 22,293 contract holders, totaling $265 million in the trust fund. Since the inception of this fund, there's only currently 4.1% of the assumed rate of return has been, which has been forecasted for many years to be at 7.8%, which has created an unfunded liability in our fund. The board did vote last month to defer the enrollment of this program until we've had time to do an actuarial audit and make a determination on how we can make this program very successful. Look at the strengths, look at the weaknesses. And certainly the ultimate goal is to get our children into college, both universities and junior colleges, community colleges, because that's our workforce of tomorrow. So we certainly need to get our children educated and have them to live here and be part of the long-term vision for the state of Mississippi. The MAX program is also a savings program for college. Currently we have 12,741 participants with a value and assets of $142.8 million. We are up in our contributions, and we'll continue to outreach this program as many of the states across the country are doing. They are spending a lot of time emphasizing and focusing on their affordable college savings plans. When we're talking about the considerations that are a necessity to continue to operate the State Treasurer's Office in a very efficient and effective manner, this is a continuation from the 2013 budget request. Somewhat of a two-pronged initiative, concentrating on technology and continuity planning, and it is extremely important that we focus on our risk mitigation. There are a lot of different moving parts and pieces. Certainly we need to replace our financial accounting system, and it's a long-term process. It could be over 4 years to do that, and certainly we've got some equipment and software that's out of warranty. Let me give you a little bit more in depth on that piece. We have a lot of equipment and software that is out of warranty. And what does that really mean? That means that there's a lot of risk out there. That makes us very vulnerable. And if there's a system breakdown, or if there's an investment, or we're moving some dollars, we've got to make a debt service payment. When you're transferring those dollars, you've got to be completely secure and completely locked down. And it's imperative that we have the best technology available so we don't compromise any of our funds in any way. As you recall, 3 years ago the MAGIC system was started, and the Treasurer's Office elected to be a part of that. Where we are now, we've got to be prepared to take that next step. We've got to be prepared to work with the team and interface, and so that our systems can speak and talk with one another. And in order to do that, we're going to have some funding. Currently, we have not allocated any dollars in the last 3 years toward the MAGIC program. The Treasurer's Office is a key component of MAGIC. So we'll certainly need to be prepared and be ready to go online in order to be a part of that MAGIC process as it's rolled out. Another big part of that is also our disaster recovery and our continuity. Again, running the largest financial institution, and we're talking about $9 billion in monies coming through the Treasurer's Office, is again imperative that we have the right equipment, we have the right processes in place so that we don't allow our system to be vulnerable. If we have a disaster, we're prepared. We know what to do, and we've got those assets allocated to take care of any vulnerabilities. And as I was just saying on the continuity planning, it's also people. And that's the team that... People are your biggest assets in the state, whether it's in the state government, whether it's in the private sector. It's certainly our workforce. I will tell you, the Treasurer's Office in the last 3 years, the office has lost 18 people. That is a 48% turnover rate. And most of these positions are mid-level positions. Currently, there are 43% of my staff that can retire within the next 5 years. We've already received one notice of retirement for next year. So in order to do that, we've got to maintain quality individuals. We've got to provide knowledge transfers. We've got to be ready to have succession planning. I liken this to any bank or financial institution. We've got to have skilled professionals that are in the process of being accountants, being ready to do bond work, handle collateral, all these transactions that occur every day in the State Treasurer's Office. The vision is certainly to create a working environment that attracts and retains these professional individuals to stay and work in the treasurer's office for many years. And again, they will be prepared to be involved in succession planning, continue to grow our workforce in the sense that we allow them to have the right skills, the right tools in their toolbox to handle the business of the state every day. As you all are aware, this is certainly not a special funds, not a general fund appropriation. This is a special funds request. As I just said, ours comes out of the unclaimed property. So when we talk about the dollars to hire these quality individuals, to maintain these quality individuals, certainly that's where our dollars will be coming from.
Madam Treasurer, let me stop you right there. We are at the halfway point. I know of at least one question we have at this point. I recognize Representative Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Treasurer, I see we managing over $3 billion, and I may have missed it. Do you have the percentage rate that we got on that investment?
Yes, sir. We obtained $55 million in investment earnings.
How does that, percentage-wise, how does that, do you have that?
Compared to the previous years?
Yes, ma'am. Like, did you get 1% on the money, or I can't go $3 billion myself. I haven't got a figure.
So I'm not sure that I can tell you right offhand the exact percentage. I'll be glad to do that. But be more than happy to get that information for you. But very successful considering the economic downturn to attain that much in interest earnings for the state.
Senator Brown has a question.
Madam Treasurer, the paper the last couple of days kind of caught us a surprise. Mr. Pender is a really good writer, and I liked him when he was writing for the Fish Eating Journal down on the coast, because it didn't circulate up in the Tombigbee River, but the Grand Ledger does. And I've had been deluded with phone calls the last 24 hours about the impact problem. Who is your board? I'd like to know who's your board.
The board is set up by statute, Senator Brown. We have several members on the board. Some of the private sector. I'll be glad you should pull list. Dr. Bounds is on there, Dr. Clark. DFA has a representative.
They're the ones that made this decision to suspend the impact, right?
Yes, sir. It was a unanimous decision, and be happy to kind of explain a little bit about that.
Well, I need to ask, but we haven't got very long, and I can't understand it. I just heard this thing Friday, and I heard it from a banker in Columbus. They called me up and asked me, said, "Man, I heard y'all doing away with them." I said, "Man, that's a bunch of bull." I said, "This is a good program, working well." Then I get here on Monday, and Mr. Pender has got it in the paper, and I just bursted lied to the man. And I don't understand why we didn't. Why didn't we? Why this is a problem overnight, or we didn't hear anything about it during the session?
No, sir. I've only been in office since January, so it's been a due diligence effort on my part, and to educate the board and to look at it. And if you look historically across the country, it is an issue that's facing many, many states right now in their prepaid, and we're just taking a pause to do an actuarial audit to make a determination on the strength of this program. Like I said earlier, first and foremost is that's where we need to be. We need to be out there having children invested in education.
Well, that's true. We've always tried to sell that program. People call us and ask us about it and say, "Yeah, it's a good program backed by the state, and all I get now we find out it's it's being suspended." I don't know what that means, being suspended. And then we find out about it later. What about the long-term effect? We had PERS before we had you guys, and we were talking about the same type thing. What about the long-term effect of this? I mean, if these folks are calling me, members are calling me, want to know what's going on, and a lot of constituents are calling, what is going to be the long-term effect of this thing? Madam Treasurer, people get scared of this and make a run on it and don't enter it again. What's going to be the long-term deal?
Well, there are certainly some options. First, I need to go back and answer your question. There were 4 members of the legislature that sit on the board as liaisons, both to the Senate and to the House, who've been very apprised of what we've been discussing. Last year, it was funded at 83.3%. This year, the fund has gone down to 76.8%.
70 what now?
76.8%.
Okay.
This is a very proactive measure, one of due diligence to make sure that we are ensuring that the participants are well protected. We do have full faith in the credit of the state in this program, which separates us from many other states. I would like to take the time and tell you about, right now there are only three states that have prepaid, somewhat similar to us, but many of them have stopped and reevaluated their programs as well. Some of them have closed them, some of them have suspended them, some of them have come back with a fresh new start. Because when you make 0.6% earnings in the last FY, and your actual report is 7.8%, you have a tremendous gap. And you have to take a pause and look and make a determination. How do we strengthen this program, and where do we go from here? The only other state that has a full faith and credit like us is the state of Florida. They are a whole different financial vehicle. They are over 100% funded, and they have $10 billion in assets. Mississippi, we're the only one that is running and continuing to go down. Of those four states, Washington has issued bonds to back theirs, and they have 100% funding in theirs. The state of Washington, has $2 billion in assets, and they are 100% funded. And they do something different. They don't sell by year; they sell by unit. So as you can see, states have had to take a look at this and make a determination. Now, in saying that, there are only 6 other states total that have prepaid accounts.
Well,
they've shifted the liability where they're not guaranteed by the state.
Well, if one asked me today, would it be safe to get in the impact program? I don't think any of them will, but I would be scared of it under these circumstances. But if they asked me, what could I tell them? I said, when is it going to be back up and you be accepted again?
Well, absolutely, it's a great program. Again, it is backed by the full faith and credit. Every participant is well covered in that program. So there shouldn't be any run on that. They are the ones that are in very good posture.
But what
now,
about ones that won't get in it now? How long is this suspension going to be? Is what I'm asking.
Senator Brown, I couldn't tell you exactly. We've hired an audit team to come in and start looking at that. It could take 2 months. It could take 3 months. And then I think it's going to be fair for us to all digest it and make the decision on whether the sustainability is there, or do we need to restructure like many other states. But currently our program is very good, but at the same time we have to stop and take a pause.
Senator.
Thank you. Madam Treasurer, the interest that you receive on unclaimed property, you might check back to us and don't fund you. How does that work?
The interest stays in the funds, in the unclaimed property fund.
It stays in that fund
Yes, sir.
for operation purposes.
Yes, sir. We operate our entire Treasury's budget from that, which is a very small piece of that.
You also talked about your workforce, and you too have a challenge. You're in trouble, as a matter of fact. 48% turnover within the last 3 years, 43% of retirement within the next 3 years. Is that exit due to pay or what?
Well, it's certainly a combination. The pay scale is hard for us to attract professionals. We need a CPA. We're one of the few state treasurer's office across the country that doesn't have several CPAs on staff. In order to get investment officers to become a part of the state agency, we're not able to hire and retain them as a financial institution would be.
And how are you going to cope with that in the future as it becomes even more of a challenge with the competition in the private sector and even maybe in other state agencies?
Well, at this point, we've asked for a small amount of dollars to try to get a CPA on staff. We'll continue to do workforce training, planning, hopefully have succession plans so we can get some of the younger individuals in and train them up. So we're looking at a whole workforce plan to accommodate that, but certainly if we had the option to pay these individuals and we could obtain high-quality professionals, then since we could keep them, because working for the state is a wonderful place, and if we had that option, we would certainly outreach and do that.
And finally, do you have an internship program that you work with our university colleges?
Yes, sir. We have several internships. We have both the public and the private colleges and universities. We have, since I have been in office, have had different interns, be they marketing, interns. So yes, sir.
So those are the opportunities that people come back to you?
Well, in the last months, they have really enjoyed the working environment. Currently, I don't have any slots, but would love to have some of those individuals back and be part of the team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Moore.
The one thing I noticed, of course, Senator Brown talking about going on hold here, but the plan has never made its assumed rate of return.
No, sir, it has not.
David's showing here, the historical rate has been 4.8% since inception date, and it's projected to be 7.8. So actually, after the first year, that thing it went backwards, didn't it?
Yes, sir. I'd like to show you the unfunded. I think this will answer a big question. I think we may have the handouts to give to you all that we just. I'd like you to see this chart. This is something to telltale story of where we've been, and we've been underfunded, as you can see, since 2000. So it's important that we take that pause and we make a determination.
I'm sorry, were you through, Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Senator Clark.
Mr. Speaker. Madam Treasurer, I was just looking at the budget request at your personnel, where you just requested 2 positions.
Yes, sir.
But I was looking at some of the under contractual services, an increase in rent of $54,000. It looked like it had been pretty constant the prior 2 years. And those two new people didn't need that much space.
No, sir. We have the opportunity to utilize some additional space on the 11th floor, which doesn't come up very often, and it goes back to our risk and our mitigation. It's important that you have security and be able to lock down a floor if need be. Individuals sometimes think we do run the biggest bank and that there's money sitting there in the vault. And when you don't have control of your entrance and exit of individuals, be it coming to the Treasury, we're always welcome to see individuals. I don't mean like that. But it's a risk mitigating issue for me to protect staff, to protect the assets, and to make that a very vital part of what we do at the State Treasury.
You're moving up another floor, or
no, sir.
up another floor?
No, sir. We're just taking a small area that's on the 11th floor.
That pays the DFA. That's the DFA going rate.
Yes, sir. I wish you could negotiate a lesser rate for us. That'd be great.
I understand that. Okay.
Any further questions from any committee member? Governor Reed has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Madam Treasurer. You mentioned unclaimed property. Could we get a copy of the newspapers in which you published unclaimed property for fiscal year 2012?
Absolutely. We published in every paper. We put an ad in every newspaper. We'd be more than happy to. We did additional articles across the state in every major newspaper about unclaimed property. We printed the list and put them on every legislator's desk. We printed and provided a list to all the chancery clerks and county supervisors across the state. Whenever I speak, I bring that list to whatever group it may be to provide them. We published on the website. We have an unclaimed property app that's about to go be unveiled to put on your phone next week, in the next month. So we've been very diligent, and we've had more initiated calls, more initiated paid claims in the last 9 months.
Thank you. Just a copy of those newspaper publishing would be nice. And you can give that to LO staff, would be wonderful. Just so I understand the budget request, you're requesting for the treasurer's budget in 2014 for the fiscal year that ends June 30th of 2014, $3.65 million, which is a 12.89% increase year over year. Is that correct?
$417,000, Lieutenant Governor. And as we discussed, it's important to work smarter and more efficient and to have some qualified staff to add to the team, which also includes our technology and our disaster and business continuity planning.
Okay, thank you. And final question regarding impact. I think you said earlier that in the most recent fiscal year you earned 0.6% and your assumed rate of return was 7.8%, so you had to take a pause and look at the valuation. Did I hear that correctly?
The interest earning was 0.6%, yes, and the actuary, as late as yesterday, gave us the numbers of 7.8%.
Okay, so that in and of itself made the need for the pause. My question to you is, in the most recent fiscal year, Ms. Robertson just reported to this committee, and my understanding was that the PERS fund increased 0.6% in the most recent fiscal year, and their assumed rate of return is 8%. Would you also suggest or recommend to this committee that we stop taking new enrollees in PERS also? Take a pause and see where we are?
Well, Lieutenant Governor, I am only in charge right now of the impact fund and cannot speak to Ms. Robertson's direction. I'm merely a trustee on that board.
Thank you.
Further
And
questions?
I would like to say, just as a follow-up, Mr. Speaker, that in that same vein, Lieutenant Governor, since the inception of the impact program, we have only had a 4.8% margin, and every year it's been a 7.8%. So we've not ever made the gap. It's just continued to widen.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further questions? Any committee member? I don't see any. Madam Treasurer, we thank you for your presentation. Very good. Thank you for your time. We will